I've got a bit of ASMR.
You do?
Yeah. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Can you smell the Red Bull?
Do you get
Why do
ASMR?
people like that?
I don't know.
No.
What's the...
It's like...
Okay. This lag... Okay. Can I just count, and then you tell me when you hear it, and I'm going to work out how long this lag is, all right?
Okay, I count what?
I'm going to count. You just speak when you hear me start saying numbers, okay?
Okay.
0,
Now.
1. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, weird. You heard that basically straight away. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just mentally slow.
I did just have a nap.
Okay, well,
I've got a Red Bull.
That's pretty decent. Okay, fine.
Okay. Feeling a bit cheeky.
Yeah, I think I can see it.
I feel like I want to make fun of you, but I won't.
Why do you want to make fun of me?
Because I don't like making fun of you.
Is it because I'm such a good sport?
It's good sport.
Yeah, it was like I just let you make fun of me.
Yeah, it's because you're a good sport.
This episode's going to be weird, I can tell.
Good.
Oh.
I lost all my notes. I deleted all my notes.
So this is the second, this is your secret stash, the one that we were talking about last week, that you wanted protected in case the police ever read them. And you've deleted them, and you can't get it back.
I fucking deleted them. And I even went into recently deleted.
Yeah. Not there.
Not there. I don't know what I've done. Maybe it killed itself. Maybe it was too smart to live. Maybe
you created artificial intelligence and it just decided, nah, sorry. If this is what life is, I do not want.
Dude, I don't know. Maybe they were too real for the world. What'd you have for dinner?
I had some leftover noodles.
Yum.
I went to a Thai restaurant on Thursday night. I had a pad see ew, and I took home half of it.
Thursday night noodles?
Yeah.
Pushing it.
For what?
Sunday.
Yeah. For what? Health, hygiene?
Yeah.
Why? It went in the fridge.
Gluggy.
No, not gluggy.
Bit gluggy.
2 minutes, 45 seconds in the microwave.
You should pan fry that. At that point, get a bit of crisp.
I don't want crispy noodles.
Yeah, but they're going to be a bit gluggy, like I said.
No, they won't.
And you want to crisp them up.
No, they were fine. They're actually quite nice.
What meat was in them? What
was some chicken.
Was the protein?
There was some protein.
Chicken?
There was some veggies.
Look,
there was some egg.
Look, egg. Okay.
Eggy, yummy.
If I hear a blah 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 throughout this podcast, I know that there he is. There's Nick's noodles going blah 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 blah.
In my stomach, you mean, or me throwing up?
In your tummy.
This is going to be such a weird episode. This is going to be so weird. You're in a very strange place emotionally.
Emma said to me before, which on the surface of it was very funny, and then when I thought about it a little bit, I was like, fuck, that's not good. She said, when you wake up in the morning, Michael, do you decide which Michael you're going to be? I was like, what does that mean? She's like, well, some days you're silly Michael, some days you're serious Michael, some days you're fun and cute Michael. And I was like, I'm like little bits of those all the time. She's like, no, you're usually just like one of those things, like a lot, and your personality changes from day to day, and it's tough to keep up with. And I said, shut up, Emma.
And she's like, grouchy, angry Michael. Yeah, that's interesting. Here's a second thought to really delve into your mental state. Do you hear your thoughts as sentences, or do you just think things abstractly in kind of words and impulses. Because there are people, and I recently heard this, and I'm not this way. There are people who hear their thoughts as full, like, written sentences in their head.
Interesting. I don't know. What do you do? I think I have conversations a lot. Like I converse with myself.
You do. So that's close to what I'm talking about. So you have an actual dialogue in your head.
Yeah.
I don't have a dialogue in my head.
No?
No, I have flashes or like impulses or like thoughts, but not like a sentence. My brain has never said, I want to eat a piece of chocolate.
I don't know. I don't think that. I don't think I want a piece of chocolate.
So what's the dialogue that you're having in your head? Well, other than your various personalities fighting for control over the one physical body.
When it's things that I want to do, then it's like, that's a weird question. Like, I need to go to the bathroom. I don't think I need to go to the bathroom. Well, sometimes I think, fuck, I really need to go to the bathroom right now. I don't know what I think. I don't know.
Because whenever I'd seen like a movie, and you know how sometimes you have like a voiceover narration, or it may be on like a comic strip or something like that. Sometimes you see characters verbalize their internal thoughts in sentences. And I'd always thought that was just effectively the limitation of our storytelling, right? Like no one really shows simplistic thoughts or impulses unless it's like an animal, you know, like a dog will be like bone or whatever. That's the way you characterize an animalistic thought. But when humans are being given sort of internal monologue and stuff, it's literally in the name. It's a monologue. It's a dialogue. It is conversational, full sentences. And when you read a book and you're inside a character's head, it'll be things like Lyra knew that Mrs. Coulter was lying, but she had to maintain a straight face, and it was the hardest thing she had to do, or something. You know, you're placed in her brain in a full sentence. So I'd always just assumed that was a convention that, you know, storytelling had fallen on, where people's internal thoughts were portrayed that way because that's the only way to really communicate an idea. But discovering that some people actually have like actual sentences in their heads that is them, that is their thought process, was fascinating to me.
I think this is more of an issue of people not being able to express, like, it's the labels that we're putting on it. I would guess that most people are experiencing thought in more or less the same way. It's just like how you express it, because you would have conversations with yourself as well, surely.
Yeah, probably. But I don't think of them as like a conversation with myself. I think of it, I'm probably like torn between impulses. It's not like me saying, oh, I'm going to eat that last piece of chocolate. And then another voice says, no, Nick, you're going to save that for tomorrow because then you'll have something to eat tomorrow night. And the first voice is like, but I want the Turkish delight now. It's not like verbalized in that way. I get torn between like, oh, chocolate. Oh, no, I shouldn't. Oh, but you know?
I like the idea that in your head you're going, no, I want the Turkish delight now. Like you're like some Willy Wonka child.
Veruca
Salt. Oh, good question. Which Willy Wonka child are you?
You just complimented your own. You just complimented your own idea.
That was my internal
It's like monologue. It's like a Willy Wonka thing. Oh, Veruca Salt. Oh, good question.
That was my internal monologue coming out.
Yeah, you've expressed yourself. I'm definitely. I mean, it's so obvious. I'm Mike TV.
Who's Mike TV?
Oh,
you're definitely Mike TV. I forgot about Mike TV.
Yeah, I dress like a cowboy and I watch too much TV and I want chocolate. It's literally the entire defining traits of that character.
I've got a poster of him in my room.
You know that I don't have art in my room. It's too confrontational.
One of my heroes, my TV.
Yeah.
I'm probably Willy Wonka.
Augustus Gloop.
I'm the grandpa.
Augustus Gloop.
Actually, I'm all of them. That's why I love that movie so much.
You see yourself in every character. You're also the golden goose. And the Snorge berries.
The golden goose. Yep. Correct.
That was a joke that I don't think you heard because of the lag of the Skype.
Yeah, it was a nose joke. I got it. You fucking...
Welcome to Deep Thought, everybody. Nice to be back. Regular schedule. You know, shit's going down in the world, but we're here, as you expected, to make your life better. Setting through the internet with me, Michael Zabrecki. Say hi, Michael.
Can I get a toot toot?
Can I get a beep beep?
There you go.
And my name's Nick.
Hi, Nick. Hi.
Thank you. Good times. How you been?
This episode, by the way, sponsored by Red Bull.
Ooh.
Nick's Red Bull.
Let's have a little bit of an ASMR moment here. Can you pop that can for us, please?
Red Bull. Gives you wings. Thank you for Red Bull.
Do you think that they should really change that slogan? I'm a bit over it. I find the art style irritating.
What do you want them to do? It's a borderline dangerous drink.
Make it a bit sexier.
It's pretty sick, dude. They had an astronaut guy jump from space.
Not with his dick
covered
out.
in Red Bull shit. How do you want that to be sexier?
That's a very good
point. It's
point.
the sexiest shit ever. Jumping from space.
Are
you
from
kidding?
Space. Yeah, I mean, that's very good branding. You know, associate yourself with extreme sports. That was a clever positioning.
Yeah. They've got...
But they're ads. They're scribbly, stupid ads. I don't know.
Oh, those ones.
You know the ones I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. Those... Yeah. Shut up, Red Bull.
Yeah. Thank you for your sponsorship.
It's immediately shooting at the foot.
If you go to redbull.com/deep thought, you'll just see insults about Red Bull. It's just, it's all about negative opinions. This week, I think we are talking about world peace.
Yeah, dude. Let's solve it.
Let's solve it, but it's actually, we're coming at it from a slightly different tangent. The way that I'd like to approach it is with a question of whether it's even possible. World peace, peace on Earth. Can it happen? And I want to tackle this like biologically in the sense of what are human beings capable of? What are the strengths and weaknesses that we have as a species? What are the tendencies that we lean to in our animal brain? Can we actually overcome our innate tendencies towards conflict? Can we, as human beings, be peaceful?
We tried a couple of weeks ago to work out whether there's something in the world that every single person could agree on.
True.
Remember we did that?
Yeah.
And we basically thought that, no, we can't.
Yeah.
So I don't think that you're ever going to have complete peace on Earth. You can have relative peace on Earth. But getting relative peace on Earth would basically, I think, take us reverting to like an animal state.
Interesting. Okay, so you think...
Like a primal state.
You think that because we're conscious and intelligent and ambitious and flawed and whatever all the juice of being a human being is, that's actually causing more conflict than the pure animalistic brain?
Yeah, I think the animalistic brain allows us to have more of a domestic isolation to our problems. Like if it's like territory, which is a huge part of war or conflict, then in your kind of groups as animals, it's kind of more isolated because you're just you're in your tribe. You know what I mean?
But isn't isn't the whole point of animal nature the fact that it is base impulses, that it is violent. Like, the real world out there for animals is death and carnivores and predatory behavior. I mean, that's not peace. Even like Neanderthals, they were still combative between tribes, right? Like, there was intra-Neanderthal conflict, and they didn't have the kind of brains or intelligence that we have as a species.
Yeah, true. I think it's our ability to plan that makes things so disastrous in that sense. That we can plan an attack, and we can be strategic about it.
But I mean, surely that's also the benefit of the human race, right? In terms of, if you're trying to achieve peace, doesn't that require the planning as well? Like, it might be the problem, but it's also part of the solution.
Yeah, it's true. And conflict is also even the kind of conflict that we have nowadays is an extrapolation of animalistic impulses.
True. We talked about war, I think, at some point semi-recently as well. The idea of where it comes from is interesting. I suppose the question we should really start at here is what's the picture of world peace that we're defining here? Is it one without any conflict, top to bottom, or is it more in a sort of highfalutin sense where, yes, day to day, like, oh, someone cuts you off in traffic, that's, shitty, you flick them the bird. But on a global scale, there's no, super societal kind of aggression or conflict between nations or states or that sort of thing.
Yeah, is it just that everyone's kind of keeping to themselves?
I don't think so. I don't think that you could say there's world peace if the idea is everyone, lives in their own cabin in the woods. I think implicit in the idea of humanity is some degree of community, right? There has to be socialization.
Yeah. So what creates what's the opposite of peace?
Constant conflict, right?
Conflict.
I mean,
so
you look.
What are the big creators and causes of conflict in the world?
I mean, I think
so territory,
resources,
resource, yeah,
religion,
religion. So religion should fall under a broader bracket, though. It's
ideology,
ideology
or culture.
Yeah, it's wanting people to live the same way as you. But maybe religion is the broader bracket.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You don't have like vegan wars, do you? Like, people who might not yet, not until 2030s. But people can want other people to live a different way that doesn't lead to armed conflict. I think religion is one of the few things which does cross that threshold, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I mean, you're kind of looking. If you're looking at the opposite of world peace, you're effectively looking at the Middle East, right? Territories which have been in generational, centuries-long conflict with each other in a way that is seemingly unchangeable or so deeply rooted as to be, it's just impossible to know how to untangle, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the complete opposite of world peace, then I think, we're not talking about. It's still, if you're in, Israel or something, right? There's still going to be people whose day-to-day lives have other aggregations, right? Like, where you can still be cut off in the Middle East when you're driving and be like, fuck you, And I don't think when they're talking about peace in the Middle East, they're talking about stopping, someone jumping into the roundabout ahead of you, right? Like, I think the conception of world peace is at a societal level, right? It's stability at a societal level.
I think the only way I wonder if it's a lack of empathy for another tribe. Like it's tribalism. Tribalism, almost by its nature, displays like a lack of empathy for the other tribe, in the sense that I can see in my tribe, Darren over here is one of me.
Mm-hmm.
But over there, Karen, who's from the other tribe, I mean, she's just like, she's one of those guys. And that's a completely different kettle of fish.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, and this is where racism is born, that it's an understanding of that everyone is actually the same. And that comes from education and science. Being taught that, you know, everyone, even though people have darker skin, but they're the same as you, because people have darker skin because they evolved in a climate where the sun was more of a threat, and that the skin evolved a darker pigmentation to protect the skin against the sun, and that's the only reason why that those people have darker skin than you. So in that sense, like, science could actually help. It could actually be the ticket to helping people to understand that everyone is actually the same. And once people understood that everyone was the same, that could go a long way to combating tribalism. Poor choice of words there.
But I think
combating.
I think you're doing racism a disservice. I think that it is actually. I think that you're actually. It is. I mean, racism is actually not really about the color of people's skin, right? It's actually about people's culture, isn't it?
Yes, but that comes from people thinking that they're different than you.
But there are differences in culture between people of different skin colors, aren't there? Like, black people have different dialectical styles, have different interactions within each other. You know, their different strengths and skill sets and that kind of thing. And that's what's making them an other, right?
Right.
It is not as simple as just, you know, the Indonesian tribe, which has never seen a white person, and then a white person walks onto their island, right? And they're just like, holy fucking shit, there's someone whose skin is like white. What the fuck, you know? It is the actual basis of this, of racism these days is not just, or maybe not at all, well, the color of their skin's different, right? It is actually about what that skin represents in terms of the cultural difference between different ethnic minorities, right?
Right. Okay. Well,
like when someone's being racist against like an Indian person, or, you know, the guy at the kebab store or whatever, it's because of what they represent in terms of immigration policy, or in terms of assimilation into the culture, or in terms of what the religion that they are assumed to possess, or you know, taking jobs from people, or, you know, these are all unfounded, you know, racist tenets, but that's actually what prompts the otherness, right? It's not so aesthetic.
Yeah, well, I think you're right, but I also think that the otherness,
it does begin at the surface level. You're totally right.
Right. And if you see someone, maybe in a supermarket or something, and they're speaking broken English, like if they're speaking really broken English, it's an interesting test to think that because they don't have the ability to communicate what they're thinking, that you have a certain idea. How should I phrase this?
You treat them as like more stupid than they are, right? Because you can't follow their train of thought. You treat them like a child because they can't speak.
Sorry. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. And you can rationalize that and like that's what your brain automatically does. But then you see, like I saw Parasite a few weeks ago, and I was trying to not read the subtitles for some of it, and it's, if you look at a film like that completely in Korean, and they're just speaking a language that you have no idea what they're talking about, it's so foreign to you, and then all of a sudden you get the subtitles and you get to see what they're actually talking about. It just opens everything up.
Yeah, I know.
In like this kind of magic, in kind of this magical sense, you start to realize, oh, these people are saying things that I can actually try and understand, and they're saying funny things, and they're saying
you cross the
things
threshold
that I can relate to, and that's an amazing, it's a weird and amazing little trick that we get to experience nowadays.
But it's also, I mean, Boon Jong-ho, when he won his Golden Globe, gave a speech saying via an interpreter, ironically, that there's so much amazing film out there if you can overcome I think he called it like the 5 centimeter barrier or something like that of reading the text at the bottom of the screen. And it has definitely been the case, and is probably still the case for most people, that the idea of reading subtitles is off-putting. They don't want to make the effort. I remember famously the TV show Lost in 2005, when it premiered, had 2 Korean actors playing a Korean couple on this plane that went down, and they had to fight, the creatives had to fight with the network executives to have them speak Korean on the show. And that was one of the first mainstream networks series that had scenes that were in Korean and you read subtitles. And that was only 15 years ago. And it was a fight to get to that stage where like a mainstream audience could be expected to follow along by reading the subtitles in a show that was otherwise 95% English.
Yeah, I mean, that would have detracted from the realism of the situation. Wouldn't
Absolutely. If they were artificially speaking English, it would have detracted from the show.
Yeah, like they did in Chernobyl. Reactor 5's blown. Comrade, Reactor 5's blown.
It's a choice, isn't it? So that, we circled off in a direction there, talking about sort of otherness and how people perceive the otherness. And if you're brought in to that somehow through subtitling or whatever, you see them as human beings, right? Mm. So it's about removing the barriers of otherness, right, in perception, in terms of at least bringing everyone onto the same level.
Mm. Do you think we would ever get to a point where we would have like a global language?
One language, like one actually language. Spoken?
Yeah. I can see it happening.
I think you have to assume eventually yes, right?
Yeah.
You have to assume eventually yes. It will look like nothing of any of our languages. It'll be some interesting combination of Chinese and English.
I would just think it would be English.
I think that there's more Chinese people than there are.
They'll come around.
The TV show Firefly, which was set in the future, threw a lot of Chinese slang in because they made the hypothetical, the creative choice that in the future is going to be strongly Chinese influenced. I always thought that was an interesting
that is interesting
choice. So if we're thinking... we're talking still sort of in a cultural level, the situation that you'd need to get into to achieve world peace, right? So we're talking about removing hurdles here. I think you've nailed one, you've sideswiped one at least, which is the idea of a common language or easy communication between everyone, whether that's one shared language that everyone speaks or probably, at least in the short term, technologically, just the magic earwig, which translates what the other person says and spits it into your language for you.
Yeah,
that's like a key barrier removed, right? What's another sort of big barrier that causes this kind of conflict?
religion.
Is there a way that differences in religion can be muted or negated or avoided so as to not cause conflict?
Like, almost not, though. Because it's like there in the text, and that's like the bedrock of the religion. So it's like you kind of just got to fuck religion off.
But some religions evolve. We know, that there have been schisms in the Anglican Church and that sort of stuff. Was it Anglican or United? I can't remember. What was the one that just split about whether or not you could have like gay marriage or women pastors? Was that Anglican?
Probably, but it doesn't like it's the three monotheistic religions. I mean, you have to kind of move those. You have to kind of get those to evolve. I mean, you're gonna have like little subsect religions under those monotheisms, but you have to get the mothership to move, and I don't see that happening really.
Do you think that the gradual tendency towards atheism amongst youth of this era is going to force evolution in religion if they want to stay around?
I don't know. I'm not an optimist when it comes to these religions.
In terms of changing them, their more problematic qualities.
Yeah. It almost seems silly to evolve or to start changing what they believe in terms of like, let's keep up with the times. So, okay, now guys, now we believe that evolution is correct, but God made it. I mean, it's like at a certain point you're just like, okay, just throw out the God part and now and you've got the thing.
So, picturing a future in which the trend towards atheism or agnosticism, or at least away from formalized religion, is continuing at its pace, it's increasing, society gradually becomes more secular. You end up with a place where there's a minority that believe, right? Yeah. Then you have this kind of existential question for them, right? Do you continue to preach the thing that you always preached and then cease to exist when the last generation of believers dies out? Or do you effectively evolve but leave behind the religion that it was in order to try and maintain some form of existence, right? It's like an old gods, new gods kind of question.
Yeah.
In that circumstance, surely if the society is moving secular and if the old religions are causing conflict, is it not then plausible or maybe even inevitable that it will have to evolve into a form which is less malignant? Or else it'll just disappear?
No, yeah, I think it will, and it is evolving into a form that is less malignant. But it's the extreme versions of these religions that are causing the problem.
So do you think to achieve world peace, what you're effectively saying is we need to have as a culture left religion behind first?
That's my guess. And that's obviously going to come with its own... Well, yeah, maybe it will. I think about this a lot. Well, I have been like over the last 10 years or whatever. Like, would the world really be better without religion? My guess is that it would be. But I'm not... People really get a shitload out of religion that I don't think I'm giving enough value to.
There is a social glue that religion brings to...
Did you say social?
Social glue that religion brings to community that I think you're right that you and I probably overlook somewhat.
But sorry to interrupt, but I get the social glue part, sure, but I also think, I mean, you're able to obtain that through other means. For me, as a person that doesn't believe that there's any God or any supernatural element to the universe, what I can relate to is the feeling of awe and majesty and the feeling of insignificance. That feeling that I get when I think about being on a tiny ball in the biggest possible in space and the amount of planets and stars there are, that feeling is, I think, akin to the feeling that people get when they think about God.
Yeah.
So I don't think I've left behind any sort. That's spirituality. What I just described is spirituality, and I think there's a need that people have for spirituality, but I do think you can also get that without God.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time on this tangent, but do you think that world peace would be harder or easier if we had firm confirmation that we were not alone in the universe?
Oh. No, world peace, it would unite us. If we found out there was another race of another civilization, 100%, we'd all be like, all right.
I don't know. I like your optimism, but I think if you consider, the variance in people's beliefs about, I don't know, going back to the Middle East, should we go to this country and take its oil or whatever, right? Like there are very distinct contrary voices as to how to approach a situation like that. Surely there'll be some sector of humanity that sees an interstellar civilization or a spacecraft that's entered our galaxy or whatever. Some of them will be like, fuck, we've got to fucking kill it right now. We need to kill this thing right now. Some of them will be diplomatic. They'll be like, we should extend an open arm. Some of them will be absolutely batshit terrified. Some governments who are, led by or in religious societies will have crises of faith. Some will, like, scientists will defect. There'll be a lot of conflicting kind of shit that goes on. I'm not so confident that would unite humanity. I think there would be more, like, greater stakes as to people's behavior than ever done before in a way that could actually ignite conflict.
Yeah, I agree. There'll be some disagreement over how to approach the situation, but we'd be getting this, like, celestial context. Ooh, name for a band.
Good album, yeah.
Yeah, dude. We'd get context for our existence in the universe, and I think that we'd disagree over, like, what to do, but at the end of the day, we'd be like, man, we're humans now. We're humans. We are the species of humans because there's another species, and that means there's probably other species. So we gotta. But
can you not picture white humans being like, hi there, yes, we are humans. Thank you for coming. This is our amazing planet. Help yourself to the soda stream. It's just in the corner. And meanwhile,
filled with CO2,
just gently nudging all of the minorities out of the way, out of the camera view. Can you imagine how America would react if China sent out the first messenger to an interstellar craft, right?
Yeah. Who's gonna represent? Who's gonna be the ambassador?
Yeah,
because our alien's gonna be like, so. Are they going to just think we all look alike? Like
I don't know.
Chinese people look alike.
I mean, again, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but if they've made it to our galaxy, they've probably observed us in advance to know some of what our world and society is like, right?
Yeah.
They have to have the technology to see that from afar for a while. Anyway, let's broadly write that off as saying world peace probably needs to be without confirmation of interstellar craft. I don't know. Do you agree with that? That was me saying I support my point, but is that fair, do you think?
No, I agree.
So we're still alone in the universe. We don't know there's anything out there. Everyone speaks the same language or can communicate instantly. Religion has been left behind. Are there any greater social or structural things that we need to do here to facilitate this? What about wealth? What about needs and health? And are we all living in a fair society where everyone has access to what they need, right?
Are you saying that the disparity in wealth is a cause of
conflict?
Conflict.
Both within a society, you look at America, you have the whole 1%, lower class kind of conflict currently, but also in between nations, African, the history of slave trade and everything, and the theft of resources from that continent, which has left them playing catch up to other nations. In order for world peace to be possible, do we need to have reached a place
distribution of wealth,
either reparations or like redistribution of wealth, or an international support? I
think but how are you gonna, I don't know how you would do that on a global scale.
Well, look, in this kind of future world, that it always becomes the UN that's a government, right? At some point there's an international charter which actually has authority over every other nation state, and we kind of, it sounds fictional, but at the same time, the EU has some of that power, right? The EU member states do defer in some instances and some authority to a greater body than themselves. So
people are scared of having a one giant body, aren't they?
Yeah, but that would potentially be the only way that you could facilitate stuff like, okay, fuck, Africa needs, $1.7 trillion. All the other, Western states are going to pay effectively a slave tax, reparations for their, colonialism. You probably need to level out the needs of humanity so that conflict of, I'm fucking starving, where's my next meal coming from? Oh, those bastards over the, in the other town, they stole my goat or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what, that's a genesis for conflict, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a very good point. I hadn't thought of that. You would, I think that would make a lot of progress in terms of leveling the playing field and stopping people feeling like they've been feeling injustice.
Well, let me take that one more step further, because as I was thinking about it, doing that kind of behavior would then cause a sense of injustice in the countries who were being penalized, right? Like the Western world, there would definitely be people who'd be like, I didn't fucking steal slaves from Africa. Why do I have to give up some part of my taxes over to support this other fucking country, right? So simply doing that, even if it might be morally just, is not going to remove that problem. So perhaps the actual thing that you need in order to level the playing field is technological. It's like an open source, it's like a big discovery, right? So something along the lines of highly efficient, ultra low cost electricity or something like that. Someone discovers, okay, this is an amazingly efficient battery. This is our perfect solar panel or whatever. We roll it out really cheaply around the world. Now everyone has electricity. Similarly, here's the really easy medical solution. Here's the food production system. It's just available to everyone, and now everyone's got the same boost up to that level, right? Like it might need to be more like it's opportunity based rather than leveling, right?
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm trying to get at?
Yeah, no, you're talking about creating equal opportunities for people rather than equal outcomes. But I think you could also do what you initially said, but it would take a couple of generations.
Yeah.
For
the new
the
normal.
people who feel like that have been penalized to actually be like, well, this is my parents grew up like this, and now we're growing up like this, so it's like it's in the past. So you could do that, overcorrect or correct, but they just have to suck it up over a few generations, and then that would be the norm.
Yeah. Okay, so unless there's any other sort of big standouts, I think we've painted.
The other thing,
okay, go.
The other thing that I was thinking about is the ego.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to get to, which was that if we've set up an institutional, governmental, societal kind of framework now, the common language, access to all the sort of fundamentals, equal wealth, no aliens have visited, universal governmental body, if those are the kind of the accepted requirements now for world peace, let's turn back to the starting question, which is human nature. Now we've set up the perfect way that this globe should operate to facilitate world peace. Is it still achievable, or are humans fundamentally incapable of that due to the biological side of it? You're about to talk about ego.
I was just going to suggest that. Whoa.
Grumpy bum out there.
Yeah. That. I don't really know what I was going to suggest, but that it seems that ego can be at like a world leader level is the catalyst for a lot of like actual conflict at like a military level.
And do you think that is not solved or surpassed by the societal changes that we've now put in? You think that ego is a part of every human being?
Yes, but it's more and less.
Do you think that ego stops human ability to reach world peace? Because you're interpreting it through the idea of there being one leader, right, for each country still. And do you think that is prohibitive? Or could there still be a way in which the will of people is kind of a different governmental form or something like that, where it's actually not dependent on one person or not?
Yes, I think that would be a very good start. You could the idea that one person it makes sense to a degree, but if you could spread out the burden of decision, I mean, the problem is it's going to make the decision-making process so much slower. But the more people you have making those decisions, the less ego is going to be a factor. But then also you could potentially have AI making these decisions, or at least helping you make these decisions. You could have like far in the future, you could get a computer to actually tell you what a likely outcome of any particular military strike what that might look like in terms of damage to the area, casualties, possible retaliation from the enemy, things like that.
Yeah. What about the idea of tribalism? We sort of started here. The sense your first suggestion was that if we removed the sort of human intelligence level and reverted to animalism, that would be better because the scale of what the human brain can encompass, I forget what the number is. It's like 40 people, 40 people Like how many?
It's 40.
It's something. It's quite small, right? The idea of
Yeah.
how many you could actually be like close to or like connected with, right? The ideal clan size is our our evolutionary ape tribe size, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that we have the capacity to surpass that? And the idea of tribalism, the idea of being part of an us, which is 8 billion people, which is 12 billion people, do you think the human mind has the capacity to feel part of something that large, or will it always search for tribes within that?
I don't think that we'll be able to get over that. We'll be truly able to fathom sharing a planet with 8 billion people, but we can rationalize it, and we can use our brains to kind of work it out. But at an emotional or at an instinctive level, I don't think we'll be able to overcome that.
So does that imply that there will thus always be tribalism and thus always be conflict?
Well, yeah, I think there'll always be. Yeah, maybe I think there will always be tribalism. I think the only shot that we have is of not feeling that way is if there is another species or another civilization out there.
But I mean, couldn't it also just be evolution? I mean, maybe the answer is you have to evolve past that into something which you no longer count as human. But surely, if that's an animalistic instinct, it is within our ability to either through genetic engineering or just cultural processes and generations upon generations of Darwinian pressures. It could be the case that humanity reaches a point where that tribalism is a less strong instinct, right?
I guess so. It's just hard to imagine us evolving. Like actually evolving.
Yeah.
At a level that we'd actually be passing on this trait to future human beings. I mean, maybe like cultural evolution for sure, but I don't think that's a cultural evolution.
No, yeah, it would be assisted by cultural development, but sure. I mean, there is evidence of human evolution now, right? Like, it's already happening. We're the first species. Like, I'd have to look it up. We're the first species which is actually evolving itself through technology, right?
Well, I've definitely not been evolving.
You've been regressing. Okay, humans are still evolving, and we can watch it happen. Yeah, we're not in science news, but the summary of this article is basically saying that because we have genomic profiles of the human, genome, we're actually already seeing that there are genetic markers and alleles and that sort of thing changing that you can see moving amongst a population. Whether or not that's manifesting in actual genetic traits yet, potentially not. I just really quickly skimmed that, but we definitely can see our DNA already differentiating themselves. There's things about the ability to have lactose tolerance, like enabling adults to digest milk. That was evolution. Things for like blonde hair and blue eyes have spread quickly over the past 2,000 years. Fair hair and lighter skin color. So yeah, we there is already sort of recent data that can support the idea that the human genome and is evolving. So it's not. I don't know that there's like an allele for tribalism, potentially. I mean, maybe. But I also wouldn't rule out the idea that, if you jump 10,000 years ahead, it's probably going to look different, human behavior and obviously society. But like on a biological level, we might have overcome some of those limitations.
Well, let's hope so. It's hard for me. It's hard to actually imagine that, because when I imagine us in the future, I imagine that everything else is changed, but we're still like, I feel like if I had a conversation with someone from like Jesus time, like there'd be a lot to chat about. But I think at the heart of it, I'd be like,
I'll grab a drink with that guy. I mean, but there would be so many, differences, but also the rate of evolution is increasing. The first 1,800 years of, since we started this calendar, pretty slow in terms of, technology, obviously growing, but now we're at a level of, computer science and DNA and understanding, which will exponentially accelerate that kind of process going forward. So jumping 2,000 years ahead now is going to what a human being, as we defined it in 2,000 years, in the year 4020, is going to look very different, like much more drastically different to us than we do from, year zero, I think.
Yes. And with artificial intelligence becoming part of our biology in a way as well.
Absolutely. Everyone will be a cyborg.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's try and put a cap on it here. Let's go back to that question. World peace. Do you think it's actually achievable?
I do think it's achievable, but I think it's going to take a long time. And it's going to take like an existential threat, maybe not even a threat. It's going to take existential context for the human race to actually get to a point where they realize that the problems here that we have at a domestic level don't actually matter.
Cool. I don't think it's possible. I don't think, for the given definition of human being as we know it, I don't know if it's possible. I think there will always be some degree of whether it's resource hogging, whether it's xenophobia, whether it's mere competition, whether it's religion, or even just biological tribalism. I think that if you were to fix all of the societal problems in the way that we suggested, the world is all basically treated identically, country to country, has the same resources, the same access to education and science and technology and food and energy and everything, and you plunked the exact same type of human beings as we are in it right now, there will still be the sociopaths in society. There will still be the narcissists. There will still be the egotists. There will still be the competitive, the athletic, the aggressors, to a point in which they would still want more than what they have, and that causes conflict.
Yeah, you're probably right. I wonder if we could get to a point of minimal conflict.
We absolutely should strive to it. And I think there's obviously clearly so much more that can be done to make that the case.
Where, if you had to guess, where do you think do you think there'd be another world war, and whose fault is it?
I think it's probably inevitable. I think it is probably inevitable that there's another world war. As to whether it's in the next 15 years or in the next 2,000 years, I'm not sure I would place the bet on it being in our lifetimes necessarily, but hopefully not, at least. But on a grand timescale, I mean, look back over the past 2,000 years before we called them world wars. There were still fucking big wars, you know? And I think,
what would a world war look like now? Like, it's not going to look like before.
World War now it would be so fucking scary.
In World War One and Two, you had conscription, so everyone had to go fight, but you wouldn't be able to do that now.
No.
So world wars now would look way different.
It'd be so fucking terrifying. There's the amount of like AI stuff where like you could have drones just like fly over countries and just blow up a city, right? That technology, the escalation in that technology over the past 80 years is fucking terrifying, right?
God damn. I'm moving to New Zealand.
Yeah, you got to pick somewhere that's not going to be a target.
Yeah, you're safe over there. But then you got the ground. The ground hates you over there.
But there's no snakes, so it's
no
all
snakes.
wins. Cool.
Oh, man. Save the world again.
We did it. We saved the world by claiming that it'll never be saved. Let me try and think of a new outro line. You know, I forget. Just find a thing. Just find a new win. Education can be fun. And if you would like to find another topic which is explored in such riveting depth by two absolute consummate professionals, then please let me direct you to the archive of Deep Thought episodes, deepthought.podbean.com, or just scroll down your podcast player feed. They're all there. They're all 100% brilliant. You can send suggestions for the topics you'd like us to talk about to deepthought@gmail.com. You can find us on facebook.com/deepthought. Send us a message. We also put up like interesting articles and that sort of thing. It's, you know, worth a like. Twitter.com/deepthought if you want to be notified when an episode's gone up. And soundcloud.com/deepthought if you want to hear some of our jingles. Of course, if you're in the internet space using a digital hyperlink to access a podcast feed, then follow it through to Apple Podcasts and just give us the old 5 stars. Give us a rating, give us a review, send us some love, and help us climb up the leaderboard that is life.
Nice.
Should we do a George Clooney news?
Oh, yes, please.
George Clooney news. Watch out for that tree.
Yeah.
Gosh, the lag here is going to make that very interesting to stitch together. I hope it sounded right. Okay, I've got one on the list here, and it's actually George Clooney news is, of course, our regular check-in with what Mr. Clooney has been up to. I have a link here, and because this segment is so old, I can't actually remember whether or not we've talked about it here before, and indeed whether or not it might have been the originating story that prompted George Clooney news as an ongoing segment. I might be about to go full circle, but I saw this and I saved it because I was impressed. The headline is, George Clooney spends Nespresso paycheck on spy satellite to keep tabs on Omar al-Bashir.
Dude, what?
Have we talked about this before?
I really don't think we have. And
okay.
Give me the juice. Give me the goss, baby.
Here's the juice. HuffPost.com is reporting George Clooney spent a recent handsome paycheck on an endeavor that might surprise those who knew more about Clooney's love life than his espionage activities. The Gravity actor, weird pull, but yes, this is a 2013 article, so I suppose it's slightly out of date. The Gravity actor told The Guardian he's spending most of the cash he earns from appearing in commercials for Nespresso on a spy satellite aimed at Sudan. He says, quote, most of the money I make on Nespresso commercials I spend keeping a satellite over the border of North and South Sudan to keep an eye on Omar al-Bashir, the Sudanese dictator charged with war crimes at The Hague. Then he puts out a statement saying that I'm spying on him, and how would I like it if a camera was following me everywhere I went? And I go, well, welcome to my life, Mr. War Criminal. I want the war criminal to have the same amount of attention that I get. I think that's fair. So basically, George Clooney spending his paychecks from Nespresso to just keep an eye on a bit of a murderous dictator.
Dude, that is the most George Clooney thing ever.
I find this absolutely delightful.
This is great.
Imagine having how much money do you think it takes to just be able to commandeer a satellite?
$3 million per fortnight.
I can't even imagine. Like, how do you even make that connection? Who do you call? If you have this grand idea, how do you make this happen? It's bizarre.
It's so. When I get George Clooney rich, Nick, I'm gonna get one of these fucking spy satellites. I'm just gonna have it on you.
I'm just gonna Omar al-Bashir.
I'm not comparing you. I'm just gonna do it to freak you out. So I'm just gonna send you texts.
There are two private citizens around the world that have a spy satellite over them at all times. One of them is Omar al-Bashir, and the other one is Nick Shadle, Christchurch, New Zealand.
Yeah. I'm just gonna be like enjoying that ice cream, and you'll be like, "What the fuck?
How did you?" And I just like stare up at the sun.
Screw you! Leave me alone. That was a good Clooney news, dude.
It's a bit of clones.
Very good.
Thank you.
This is why we do it.
This is why we do it, baby.
Yeah. Kobe Bryant died. I know.
You just had to look up his name. You're a real sports buff. I imagine it was pretty tragic for you.
I thought it might have been Kobe Bryant, but it's Bryant.
Yeah. I don't think you're really in a position to be able to talk much about this.
No, I'm just saying it's pretty sad.
It was sad. The fact his daughter was on the plane, terrible.
Yeah. No, this wasn't a...
Oh, yeah, no, the episode ended when it was funny, not when it was sad. Although now, maybe... I don't know. I'll find it in the edit.